Week 5 in the books. Week 6 waiver wire ads and trade targets right now on the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. I'm very happy to be back in the hot seat once again, filling in for my man, Bob Lamarco. Every single Tuesday, I get to host the show, and it's quite an honor with my man, Matt Stiles, once again. We're finally starting to make this a routine, my man. We did week 2, and then we had week 3 and 4 off, and now we got 5 and 6 back to back. I'm digging it. We had a great time, of course, on the Sunday live show. You can catch us every single Sunday morning from 3 hours before kickoff all the way up until about kickoff with a random variety of all of our great analysts here at Razzball, right here on the YouTube Fantasy Football Show. We have a special guest today, a nice old friend of mine in the fantasy realm, my man, Mr. Jacob Charnow, the host of the Hard Count Fantasy Football podcast and network as well. Jacob, it's been a long time, buddy. You and I go way back, but it's nice to have you on Razzball. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. You're right. It has been a long time, and it's been we did all the way back to, man, that was, I want to say summer of 2020, probably around there, maybe a little bit later. But that's
prior pandemic or right into it, man. Yeah, it's exciting to have you back on the flow now, and not only were we connecting with the Candlestick Kids, but we finally now have brought you over to Razzball as well. So before we get into the program, can you just let the Razzballers kind of reintroduce yourself for anyone unfamiliar so far and what exactly you're doing for the team?
Totally, yeah. What up? I'm Jacob Charnow. I am now a writer for Razzball, and I'm super excited. And I do weekly start sits, and I'm writing. I'm almost out with my article for this week. It should hopefully be up before Thursday night. And then I'm super excited. I'm super excited for the opportunity. Thank you to everyone here. They've all been super welcoming, and it's been awesome so far. So I'm really looking forward to keeping this going.
You got it, buddy. Well, we're happy to have you on the team. Appreciate all of our writers behind the scenes. And again, you can find all of our content at razzball.com. And of course, make sure to find all of us on Twitter. You can find Razzball at Razzball, RAZZBALL, Razzball Fantasy as well. Leave a like, subscribe. Everywhere you can find the Razzball networks. You can download the Razzball Fantasy Football podcast for those of you that work on the road as well. And of course, subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a comment below on your favorite waiver wire ads and trade targets for week 6. Matt Stiles, nice to be back in the box with you here, man. It's we had a fun Sunday, kind of flew off the handles a little bit. We got a London game. Things got crazy. We had the side chat going on, man. We had you on tilt early in the morning with the Packers game and everything else. How was the rest of your weekend, and how are you feeling for week 6?
Weekend was numb. I don't remember a lot of it after the Packers lost. It was just kind of a blur. I watched football, but I don't remember much of it. Just kind of tuned out, right? That's what sports fandom does when you follow your team almost life and death. I didn't do well the rest of Sunday, let's put it that way. And then near the end of the day, my wife reminded me that I was on the hook for dinner, so add that to the mix. I was responsible for cooking and cleaning and doing all the stuff for Sunday night. So just an all-around cruddy Sunday for missing that.
That's what you got to do, man. You got to put it in. Well, let's put week 5 to bed. Let's get at week 6 here. Gentlemen, we're going to kind of go round robin a little bit here. I'm going to play more of a host role versus chiming in as much as I usually do here to give Jacob a little space as well. So per usual, we will be jumping in here with our week 6 waiver ads. And listeners, per usual, feel free to jump on if you're viewing the channel right now live on YouTube. Feel free to jump in with the comments if you got any start-sit questions. Jacob's going to be our man for that. And, of course, we have trade analysis for you as well. So jump in the comment section. We'll get to as many as possible here. Matt, you are writing our weekly waiver wire article on Razzball, again for free, that everybody should be checking out every single Tuesday. Per usual, we'll let you kick this off, my man. Before we get into the positional ranks of all the positions, all of the players, who is your waiver wire ad of the week? Who's the number one guy you're looking at any position to go grab for week 6?
For me, it's got to be Kenneth Walker III. With the 4 teams on a bye, the rash of running back injuries to start the season, and then the Penny injury on top of all of the other injuries, For an offense that seems to be able to score against anybody, I think it's Kenneth Walker the third for me. And I think in Yahoo formats, he's about 46% owned. So you've got a 54% chance that he's available in your league. So for me, I would double up on the normal fab bid, or if you have that top waiver selection, that's the guy that you want to go after for sure.
Man, you got to love that. We're heading into week 6, and Matt just said for an offense that seems to be able to score on anybody, the Geno Smith-led Seahawks. You got to love that. Charnow, real quick, man, anybody else that would be your top waiver article or top waiver ad, I should say, before we get into quarterbacks?
No, the guy, honestly, I had written down was Kenneth Walker. I got to completely agree with you. You look at everything with Rashad Penny out and all that. It's Kenneth Walker's the obvious pickup. And like you said, there is a 54% chance that he is available in one of your leagues. So it's absolutely worth going to check out. You won't be sorry. I'm telling you though, Sky, this zero RB strategy, the most hated strategy in all of fantasy football, something I never used when I drafted. Looks like those guys are the ones who are winning their leagues right now because these running backs have been disappointing. So go pick up Kenneth Walker for sure.
It'll head back that way, and it's definitely handcuff season with the bye weeks coming up. Absolutely. All right, Matt, we'll turn to you here. You got a couple of quarterbacks for us in single quarterback leagues. Again, we always preface with it's hard to find a quarterback in a super flex league unless you have a big injury or something like that. But for single quarterback leagues, who are some quarterbacks you're looking to add in week 6?
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned the guy's name already, right? Geno Smith. He's still below 40% owned in Yahoo leagues. And I don't know what else to say other than just go look at his numbers, right? He's not the guy that was in the green room waiting until day 2 to get drafted. This is a guy that is just balling out. Seattle has nothing to lose, right? They have nothing to play for. They're not going to win their division. So they're just having fun. They're playing. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett look like Pro Bowl caliber players at this point. Your boy Will Dissly, who we might touch on a little bit later, is still 100% target to catch rate, I believe.
Right.
And he's got almost a fistful of touchdowns already. So Geno Smith, even though it makes absolutely no sense in the realm of fantasy football, he's the guy right now. And I would say if he's already taken in your league and you need to pivot to somebody else, old small hands, right? Kenny Pickett, his first game, 3 interceptions. Not one of them was his fault. He threw an interception against Buffalo, but they were down 35, I think, or 31 at that point. So of course he was going to be chucking the ball all day. And then I go out on a limb, right, with Pickett. He and Pickens look like they have a real connection. Probably during the offseason and training camp, they played catch a lot. But think about this, right? Najee has done nothing so far. And Claypool, Deontay, and Pickens are all healthy. How many teams can say that their top 3 receivers and their number 1 running back are healthy, right? And if you add Pickett as the number 1, all 4 of those or 5 of those players are healthy. They can play the NFL football. So if you give them a chance, I think they're going to start scoring points for you. And by the way, with Freiermuth possibly out with a concussion, that means they're going to have to lean on Najee a little bit more. And if they just punt the running game like Tom Brady has, they're going to start putting up points. And by the way, he's completing 68% of his passes. If you're in a league that does not consist of real negative points for interceptions, he's got to be a guy you pay attention to.
Jacob, do you agree with these 2 pickups? Do you have anybody else to add?
Yeah, I love the Geno Smith edition. I'm still kind of iffy on Kenny Pickett, if I'm not gonna lie. I haven't seen enough yet that I would take a chance on him. I think that honestly, 2 guys I love, and I'll kind of group them together right now, are both the quarterbacks in New York, between Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson. And the Zach Wilson one might confuse some people because they're running the ball so well. Well, they're going to establish the run, and then they're going to start to bring in the play action. Because if anybody who knows Mike LaFleur, Sky, you're very familiar with him coming from San Francisco. He loves his play action. He's going to utilize it. And with Daniel Jones, he has some, he plays Baltimore this week, but if you want to keep him on your bench with some of these bye weeks coming up, he gets Jacksonville, he gets Detroit soon, he gets Houston. Big matchup opportunity for Daniel Jones in the upcoming weeks. So those are 2 guys to keep an eye on as well.
Love it. Daniel Jones.
Both honorable mentions in my article right now. Those 2 are. So I'm with you.
Daniel-
I'm with you, Jacob. I co-sign on both of them for sure.
Daniel Jones, QB 14, Geno Smith, QB 7. And Matt, you had said early on, you said, just go ahead and look at his numbers. Well, I happened to write an article because, believe it or not, I have Geno Smith as a buy low target. So I'll just cover that really quickly here in a single quarterback league because he may not be on many waiver wires. So if he's not available, people have him, but I still don't think they're willing to start. So you might be able to scoop him up if you have quarterback trouble. But I've got a lot of stats in here, but I want to go over the rest of his schedule before the bye week in week 11. They play the Cardinals twice right now. The Cardinals are DST 23. The Chargers are DST 29. The Giants are DST 20. And then they get the Buccaneers, who are the DST 4, and they'll eat them alive. But those other 4 games look really nice. Geno's playing very well. He's the QB 2 over the last 2 weeks. Lockett, who you called, Matt, over the weekend, and DK Metcalf are both top 10 wide receivers over the last 2 weeks. And that's not just on massive big plays. It's volume, and they're getting it done. Nobody can explain it, but it's happening, and it's fantasy football. We've got to respect and react. Let's move on to running backs here. Matt, go ahead and give us a couple running backs you're looking forward to in week 6.
Because this is what I do, right? I'm asked to write this article, so I do it. I don't like either one of the Atlanta running backs. But again, we're talking about bye weeks and we're talking about significant injuries. So you just need warm bodies at this point. So both of the Atlanta running backs, Allgeier and Huntley, are available in at least 45% of leagues. If you have the need for a running back, go pick one of them up, put them in the lineup, and get some points from your running back position. And the other guy, the sneaky guy who's only rostered at 12%, is Eno Benjamin. And I saw him on your banner when you started. This is a guy that came in after 2 running backs in front of him Connor got hurt with ribs and Darrell Williams got hurt with a knee. Benjamin did not put up huge numbers, but he put up serviceable numbers and he found the end zone, which means that Kingsbury was willing to give him the ball when normally he would have let Kyler do Kyler. So I think Eno Benjamin is the sneaky running back pick of the week.
I like it. Jacob, anybody to add?
Yeah, I'll throw a guy who he's been picked up 15% more last week, so he's at 68% right now, available in 32% of your leagues, and that would be Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert, man. I love Mostert right now, and if he's somehow available, he's probably my top priority. That isn't Kenneth Walker. I mean, you look at this last week, out carried Chase Edmonds 18-1. The coaching staff is tired of these Chase Edmonds drops. They don't like him. They don't. And Mike McDaniel is familiar with Raheem Mostert from his time in San Francisco. He knows how he runs. And, you ride the hot hand. Mostert just had over 100 rushing yards and a touchdown. He's their RB1 right now going forward, in my opinion. I think that's the way they're going to move. So if you can grab Mostert, I would absolutely get him.
100% agree. And the only concern with Mostert is always injury, but when he is healthy, he is very effective and efficient. I agree with all of those picks there. Let's take a quick pause and jump into our chat and our comments. Nick Popich has jumped in here, has a couple of questions. Let's pause just for a second. We'll get into wide receivers in just a minute. Nick, we're going to read through all these here and we'll get to you, bud. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. Hope you're subscribed. This is a 10-team league. We're 10-team PPR league. We're 5-0. All right, good start. Lamar, CMC, Leonard Fournette, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Kelsey, Godwin, Judy Dobbs, Myers, Mostert, Rashad White. And then on IR, you have Jameson Williams waiting in the wings. Who do you think I can trade to get Pierce, Damian Pierce? There's more to this. Let me read it all first. I think it would be a great flex in his playoff schedule, the Chiefs, Titans, Colts, and Jags, all plus matchups. And I also want to prepare my running back injuries in case CMC goes down or if Lenny gets hurt, and I have Rashad White for that. Okay, so a couple things here. I'll just tee it up quickly, and then I'll turn it over to you guys. Who do you think we can trade to get Damian Pierce on this team? And there's a lot of talk now with Matt Rule getting fired in Carolina that there's a couple guys, Brian Burns on defense, but on offense, Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore might be wide open to be traded potentially to a contender. There's every team could use Christian McCaffrey and almost every team could use DJ Moore as well. They're both, of course, elite talents, let alone what they've been able to do in Carolina. So maybe there's a trade of Christian McCaffrey here, which I mean is more than Damian Pierce, but Just want to throw that out there that maybe he gets traded. You want to hang on to him. You want to move him. Jacob, we'll start with you here first. Maybe pick a name or two. Of course, we don't know the opponent's rosters in this league, but who's a guy or two you'd be willing to move off of in this league or on this team to pull in Dameon Pierce?
Honestly, the main guy I'd probably be looking to get rid of, as he's actually one of my sell highs, is Leonard Fournette. I think that he is a name that you could absolutely deal just because of that big name status to get Dameon Pierce. You might have to pair one of those bench guys. Maybe, I mean, you would have to probably send Rachaad White. And honestly, at this point, you would have to get something else with Pierce if you're trading this much, but probably Dobbs also, because it looks like you have some pretty good receiver depth. So yeah, and it says the guy's 0-5, so maybe he's looking for some star power. So Leonard Fournette could absolutely be a name that you could throw in there.
Matt?
So Nick put at the end, the guy with Pierce is 0-5, and he's fine with trading anyone good, Godwin and below. So if he's really willing to do that, then I would take the biggest name on that receiver list is Jerry Jeudy. If you don't need Jeudy, and based on your roster, I don't think you do, trade the guy that just had a big game, right? Russ is washed. He's done. He's awful. Nathaniel Hackett's not calling good games. Judy's good, but number one, I don't think Nick needs Dameon Pierce. I understand what he's doing, and he's trying to set him up for the playoffs. But sometimes no move is the right move. I'm not sure he needs to make this trade, but if so, I would give up either Jeudy, Dobbs, or Jacoby Myers. I'm not married to any one of the three with his roster. And if he thinks Pierce is the better option, then start low, right? Start with Dobbs, then move to Myers, and then move to Jeudy. Or start the conversation like we talked about last week by texting the guy. Hey, what is it that you think would help your roster out of these names? And let him give you an answer. May shock you. He may take the guy you're most willing to deal.
I agree. And because you're in a 5-0 position, he's 0-5. I would even be willing, if he needs wide receivers or whatever, and you can give Jeudy and Dobbs or Jeudy and Myers. I mean, you have Jameson Williams waiting. You have Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Godwin. You're not going to play Jeudy, Dobbs, or Myers anyway. You're just not in a regular week. So I would be okay moving 2 wide receivers or, maybe keep Mostert just because you need depth right now. But if you get Pierce, that helps a lot too. I think you have a lot of movement here. And you could even be overly aggressive and quote unquote lose the trade to get Dameon Pierce as one player, but lose, say, Jeudy and Dobbs or something like that. Any metric on a website would tell you that you probably lose that trade. I think you win it though, because you get the best player in the trade and your team makeup is the best. And that guy just needs players to help out his roster at 0-5. So I think you're in the driver's seat here, Nick, and I appreciate you tuning in. Please jump into our Sunday live show for our start sit show 3 hours before kickoff. We're on air right here live on the Razzball Fantasy Football YouTube show. Jump in Sunday morning and real quick and just let us know how that trade went down. I'm curious. This is the big one. Thanks for chiming in. Caden, we'll get to your question quick, and then we'll get back to wide receiver pickups. Caden, the Colts fan. All right, here. By the way, if we look at the little what they call it, the avatar down here, little lefty hack. I like to see the lefty hack there. All right, would you trade Lamar Jackson and Jeff Wilson for Kyler Murray and Aaron Jones? Preseason, obviously, this is ridiculous with Jeff Wilson and Aaron Jones being compared, but right now, Jeff Wilson is arguably better than Aaron Jones, and Kyler and Lamar may be a wash. So, Matt, we'll start with you on this one.
Nope, I don't do it. I keep Lamar. At almost all cost, I keep Lamar. And by the way, I'm a Packers fan, right? A Packers homer. I think Matt LaFleur is going to get Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon more involved. He almost came out and admitted without admitting that he underutilized the running backs, and we lost the game to the Giants because of that. I don't think that's the only reason, but no, I'm keeping Lamar purely based on the fact that he can pop off a 100-yard rushing game at any time. Kyler's not going to do that. Kyler can get you 25, 35, 45, but I don't see him popping 100. And by the way, Lamar can go 75. Kyler's not going to go 75.
Yep.
Jacob? No, I completely agree. I'm keeping Lamar. Okay. Anyone who got anyone who was lucky enough to get Lamar should not be willing to deal him for that.
Yeah, I'm like randomly a Jeff Wilson homer. First of all, I'm a Niner guy, but secondly, I've loved this guy for years. He's gotten minimal opportunity, but he's always been effective. Now he's got 3 games in a row, over 100 yards, over 20 fantasy points, yada yada. Elijah Mitchell is coming back eventually. And whether it's a split or Elijah Mitchell just takes his job back, which might happen, you're going to lose Jeff Wilson in the next couple of weeks. That makes me a little bit nervous. And I love Lamar Jackson, but actually I would swing it. I'm actually going to go with Kyler and Aaron Jones. Technically on the panel here, I'm outvoted 2-1. So Caden, the ball's in your court there. The guys kind of outweigh me, but I'm just a little bit worried about Jeff Wilson in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. Now, if you're in a good spot, you're 5-0 and you're not really worried about Elijah Mitchell coming back, keep it. And Lamar's taking you to the promised land. If you could use some wins, you need a little bit more beef down the stretch there. I think Kyler and Aaron Jones might be a better fit. I appreciate it. Just get a little background here. Thank you so much for that. And 3 handicap. Look at that. Ooh, nice. I'm trying to deal Jeff Wilson and Elijah Mitchell package. I totally agree with that. So thank you guys so much, Nick and Caden. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate y'all. Let's get back to the waiver ads here. And Matt, let's jump back into wide receivers, please.
Yeah, first of all, Jacob needs Caden on his intramural golf team at school. That's for
real.
Sure.
I mean,
that
traveling club team, dude, you could use that.
I'm a golfer. I'm not a good one.
Yeah,
I hit the links.
I go. I drive the cart. You know how it is.
I own clubs. Yeah.
Somebody's got to steer the ship.
The must-add wide receiver, without a doubt, and it could have been my pickup of the week had it not been for the Penny injury, is Alec Pierce. 9% owned in Yahoo. I just don't understand it. I had to look. I went to both my Yahoo leagues to make sure that number was correct.
What is he on ESPN?
9% owned. He's off back-to-back 80-yard games. The Colts can't get much worse. Jonathan Taylor should be coming back this week, but Pierce is a freak athlete, and he's going to be the single coverage wide receiver.
Pierce is 8.5 in ESPN.
Nice.
He was one of my top sleeper draft props. I can't even believe that.
I called it out too. I called it out 2 weeks ago. Alec Pierce, and I was giving Bob a bunch of shit on text, and every catch I was like, bro, Alec Pierce. Here we are. I've been calling him since he got drafted. I've been calling him like the next Austin Collie. I don't know if you guys remember Austin Collie for like a year and a half. He was incredible with Peyton Manning for a year and a half. He got like 4 concussions in 5 games. It was brutal. Unfortunately, ended his career really early, but great wide receiver back in the day for the Colts. And Alec Pierce reminds me a lot of him. I think that's a great stretch there. Any wide receivers to add there? Alex Pierce, dog, bought his jersey this week.
Wow,
Hayden's already on it. The Colts fan, obviously. Come on.
Well, yeah, I think Alec Pierce is. I mean, I didn't even think about him because I thought everyone had him. I felt like he was fully owned in every league. Yeah. But if I'm going to throw another name in there, the name I've written down is Darius Slayton. You look at this Giants offense without without Sterling Shepard for the year. Someone has to. No Kenny Golladay. I don't know what his deal is. He doesn't even get the ball. He can't catch anymore. I don't know what happened to him. And Kadarius Toney is the most injury-prone player I've seen since Kevin White. You look at his last game, 7 targets, 6 catches on 7 targets, 79 yards. He's the wide receiver 1 on this offense right now. He is. There's not a lot of other options on this offense in the passing game. They've got to throw the ball eventually. You can't give it to Saquon every play, even though I would. So Darius Slayton's the guy there. If he's available, go grab him. He's definitely available. Go grab him.
Wait, Jacob, here's a quick Yahoo quiz. What % owned is Darius Slayton in Yahoo leagues?
No idea. I see. I go ESPN.
I was going to say less than Alec Pierce. I know that.
Less than Alec Pierce.
He is John Blutarski. 0.0.
Be that 0.1. Be the 0.1. Go grab him. Go grab Darius Slayton.
Break the metrics, folks.
Exactly.
Get in there. Yeah, a couple of Jags listed here as well as Zay Jones and Marvin Jones also. Yep. There's a number of wide receivers that, kind of come and go each week. I mean, even Paris Campbell, if he's healthy on the Colts as well, you can kind of take a stab at. There's a couple of other guys there. Danny Gray for the 49ers, when he's healthy, he's getting some work. So it's kind of tough with wide receiver because it's so deep, right? My boy De'Ami Brown finally showed up with 2 big bombs last week. I repped him super hard unnecessarily out of North Carolina when he was coming up with Washington a couple years ago. I was like, he'll be a great number 2 for Terry McLaurin, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, they draft Jahan Dodson and put him in the back seat. But De'Ami Brown's a beast, caught a couple big bombs. So he's another guy that I'm sure nobody's got on their roster either, so you could check that out. Okay,
Danny Gray was the guy. I only remember one play from him, and it was that huge. Did he have like a 75-yard touchdown?
Yeah, it was preseason. It was a broken tackle, and Trey Lance pretty much threw a pick, but Danny Gray intercepted the interception and took it to the house, and everybody was excited. So I'll take it. But the kid's legit anyway. I really enjoyed his playing college. All right, let's talk about tight ends really quick. We got one more question. We'll take a quick breather, and then I'll knock out some buy lows and sell highs. Matt, who we got at your tight end?
Well, since on Sunday we talked about the power of the Gingers, and I repped this guy going into this Sunday morning game, Hayden Hurst. If you watched him with your eyes, the dude was unstoppable Sunday night. Now, I caveat all that by saying the offensive line is getting a little bit better. T. Higgins was not playing, even though didn't he blow up Bobby's prop bet because he hit both props. He had a 3-bet parlay. Yeah. And the third one was T. Higgins catches, and he didn't even see the field.
Well, he didn't even, Brutal. He wasn't marked out. He just didn't play. That was brutal.
It's crazy. So I like Hayden Hurst, but I only like him short term because I think Higgins is going to be back. I think that Cincinnati's going to be establishing the run game with Mixon more. Mixon had 76 yards on the ground. Looked terrible at the start. Looked pretty darn good near the middle to the end. So Hurst is a bye week guy, right? I list him, throw him in there for your TJ Hawkinson if you're a one tight end deep team, and maybe just kind of stash him if you have a deep bench. But he's for sure a good bye week and probably, coming in around tight end 13, 14, 15 at this point. I like it. Offense that prefers to pass.
Jacob, any other tight ends?
Yeah, so if you're like me and you drafted Dawson Knox and you ended up having to drop him, you're streaming a tight end now every week. And I literally wrote an article. My first ever article for Asball was about how important the tight end position was and prioritizing it in your draft. And then I ended up drafting, into 2 of my leagues, I ended up with Dalton Schultz and I ended up with Dawson Knox. So
bad luck, dude.
I have to
calls preseason, bad luck midseason.
Man, that's fantasy football, isn't it? But I have to throw out 2 names. Evan Ingram, I'll throw in a very pass-heavy offense with the Jaguars, rostered in only 15% of the leagues, and he got 10 targets last week, so that's nice. And I think his volume should start to pick up. And then I'll throw, Taysom Hill in there just because
it counts. I know it's bullshit, but it counts.
It counts. It's points, 40 points last week, and I have no idea what that's going to look like, but he's worth keeping on your bench in case Jameis Winston goes down again or he sucks. So
absolutely counts. And look, it is bullshit and it's rigged, but the reality is it's within the rules of fantasy football. And as a manager of many leagues for 15 plus years in fantasy football, my only stickler thing is if it's in the legitimate league rules or the rules of like league settings or whatever, and it is it's a glitch, but it's legal, then sucks for everybody else, but it's legit, right? There's no collusion or anything with Taysom Hill. It's just kind of a weird situation there. So I agree there. I'm going to get to my trade targets. The collusion
is that he's taking Alvin Kamara's touchdowns. That's the collusion.
Yes, that's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah, I agree. All right, I'm going to get into my trade targets in just a second here, but Queek wants to know, should I trade Wilson and Mitchell? So let's go with Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell, which you just talked about. Ramondre Stevenson and Gallup for Mixon, Akers, Henderson, and Marvin Jones. So basically, we're swapping. This is 3 running backs and 1 wide receiver each. So, Jacob, I'll let you dive into this first. Let's just assume it's half PPR since you didn't let us know.
I'm going to go no. I think that I like Joe Mixon, but I don't like this Rams offense, and I don't think Marvin Jones has high enough value. I think Michael Gallup's volume will start to pick up once Dak Prescott comes back, and Ramondre Stevenson is the guy to have right now. That is not a guy you want to deal, and this Niners offense, at least for now, that backfield is all Jeff Wilson's, and it should maybe be Elijah Mitchell's when he comes back, but even just to have Ramondre and Gallup, I'll keep that.
Matt?
I think the best player in the deal is Mixon, but the best foursome is for sure Wilson, even an injured Mitchell, Ramondre, and Gallup. Take it from a guy that traded Tyler Lockett 2 weeks ago for Cam Akers. You don't want Cam Akers.
Yeah.
And the Akers had the most carries. he is going to continue. McVay loves him. He wants him to be the running back number one. The Rams have had a really rough schedule to start. I think Akers will get better, but I'm not giving up Ramondre and Wilson for Mixon at this point. Not with all the running back injuries that are out there. I can't see doing that. I love Mixon, but I'm not making that trade.
Yeah, if we're going just apples to apples here, when I look at trades like this, do I want Gallup or Marvin Jones? Gallup, no question about it. He's ascending. Love me some Marvin Jones 5 years ago, but Gallup over Marvin Jones, no problem. Stevenson or Mixon? I want Mixon, but Stevenson's kind of a wash because he's ascending and Mixon is not Mixon right now. He just isn't. He's getting a lot of work, but he's not scoring, and the Bengals aren't the Bengals currently, so that's kind of a wash. And then do I want the 49ers running back duo and that running back, or do I want the Rams? I want the 49ers every single time in fantasy football. So for me, it's easy. The players you have right now, Quake, I think is actually who we want. So we'll do with that. Yeah. One more piece here and we'll move on. Wilson, Mitchell, and Bateman for Pittman. No. Again, it's too much. Bateman's kind of hurt. I get it. Mitchell's hurt too, but I would just stay put with the guys that you have right now. Pittman's not that much of a deal maker or difference maker, and that other side I don't think is as well. So we appreciate you chiming in there, but I think honestly you should stay put. And Matt had said it earlier, the best move sometimes is no move at all. Boys, I'm going to give you a quick water break. I want to give a shout out to our friends at Good Sports here. I'll let you just catch your breath here behind the scenes. For 1 second, we'll come back and we'll just do a 5-minute trade segment in 1 second here. Folks, 10% of all the donations here at Razzball Fantasy Football Show are distributed out to Good Sports. If you've heard any of my shows over the past few years with the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast, where I did over 550 episodes, or anything here on the Razzball Fantasy Football Network, then, of course, you have heard about my friends at Good Sports. $88 million in equipment distributed to 50-plus countries, including Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. 6,100 youth organizations are eligible to receive this equipment. 9 million children have been served, and 55,000-plus individual play packs have been distributed around the country in inner-city youth organizations, in rural organizations for kids who can't get themselves to practice. They don't have the funds to get themselves the proper equipment. I played many sports growing up. The guys did as well. All of our people on Razzball did as well. Our guys and gals in the program all did youth sports, and it was so important to us. So we hope that any contributions that you can distribute out to the Razzball Fantasy Football Network would be much appreciated. Of course, you can catch us here on the Sunday live show, and you see our QR code here. So if you'd like to, you can put your phone up to the screen. You can read our QR code. Bob's got a PayPal and a Venmo set up for you. You can log in there if you'd like to contribute anything. Look, we're not begging for money. I'm not asking for money. I'm just saying those of you that feel that you're able to and you want to contribute any amount for our hard works, please feel free to distribute it, and we can help out the youths get back on the fields. We would much, much appreciate that. All right, let's dive into my trade targets. I'll keep it short and sweet here. I do have my article dropping here. We've already talked about a couple of these players, right? So I'll spill the beans and we'll eliminate these guys out of it because we've already talked about them at length, and I want to kind of shorten this a little bit. Geno Smith was one of my buy lows also. Matt had mentioned there's like a 50+% chance that he might be available on waivers. Obviously, go look for him for free. But if he's not for free, you still might get him super duper cheap, because people don't believe in Geno Smith, even though it's happened. But if you had Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Matt Ryan, maybe you drafted Matt Stafford, and you're just not feeling it, get a little juice. Carson Wentz, right, is a middle tier guy who's kind of up and down. Get some juice in your lineup. Geno Smith has been the real deal. He might be somebody you can get easy peasy. Couple more buy lows here, and Matt, I will have you reply to my buy lows, excluding Geno Smith. And Jacob, you can do the sell highs here. My buy low running back is Alvin Kamara. You might be thinking, how the hell am I going to buy Alvin Kamara low? Well, not really low in like namesake, obviously, but he was nothing until last week. And think about the big picture here. What is everybody talking about from that Saints game? Taysom Hill. Not that Alvin Kamara finally had a 100-yard rushing game. Not that Alvin Kamara finally saw 7-8 targets. Right? Not that Alvin Kamara finally had 20-plus fantasy points and looked the part in this offense. It's Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill. So he's totally covered up now, and I don't think people realize it. You might have an opportunity, and I think the Saints offense is doing well, and Alvin Kamara is healthy, and he's back. Might have an opportunity to grab an elite running back right now. And my wide receiver is Chris Godwin. He has not blown up yet. He has not had a Chris Godwin week, missed week 1 and 2. Then he was a bit, injured in week 3. Week 4, he comes back. Week 5, he comes back. He had 10 targets and 6 targets now. Brady hyper targets him when he's on the field, and he will get the red zone looks eventually. Brady threw 52 times last week, looked like old school Buccaneers from last year. I want to see that, and when we do, it'll be Chris Godwin. And then I'd mentioned Hayden Hurst also as my tight end, and Matt, you already had him in there. It's hard to find buy low and sell high tight ends because there's only so few guys we deal with, but Hayden Hurst also probably a waiver guy, but if he's on a roster and somebody had like Dalton Schultz or George Kittle and they just need a streamer, you might be able to scoop Hayden Hurst for free. Go ahead and do that. So, Matt, let's cut the chase a little bit. We've talked about Geno. We've talked about Hayden. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara and Chris Godwin quickly. Are you buying low? Do you think that's reasonable? A couple weeks ago, I mentioned Breece Hall before the big blowout, and you kind of called my bluff. Like, I think you're too late on that. Do you think it's even possible to even go ahead and get Kamara and Chris Godwin right now?
I think you can get Godwin, right? I think, like you mentioned earlier, wide receiver is much deeper than running back. So if you have the right deal, I think you can go get Godwin, and I like for the reasons you mentioned. He's just going to get peppered with targets. I think Tampa has basically admitted that this line is not a running back centric offensive line. So Brady has said, I'm your best option to win. Let me throw it. And the running game will be Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette catching screen passes or dump offs or crossing routes that are at the line of scrimmage or just past it. So I think you can get Godwin. I think he's the better option right now. I think Kamara is still too much of a name value for you to be able to get him. Plus, he kind of popped off even though he didn't find the end zone. But if you can find a way to hide behind the Taysom Hill news, he's a guy I would love to roster. Derek and I tried to find a way to put together a deal that made sense in our home league. We just couldn't do it. We couldn't come up with something that wouldn't be offensive to the Kamara owner. So we just kind of backed off of that. And that's how we ended up with the Cam Akers deal, which let's see how that ends up.
Long-term play. I dig it. All right. And then we got another quick trade. We'll jump into this quickly, and then I'll set you up with some of my sell highs here. Bryce got offered Jamar Chase and Tyler Lockett for Cooper Kupp. Thumbs down, gentlemen.
If you're getting Cooper Kupp, I would do that deal. I mean,
I think it's the other way around, and it's always hard to read these, but I think what he means is he got offered Jamar Chase and Lockett.
You're right. Then no, keep Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I'm not trading Cooper Kupp.
No, he's the best player in fantasy right now. You keep Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Totally agree. All right, let's jump into my sell highs here. Derek Carr coming off of an exciting game on Monday night against the Chiefs. But let's be honest, folks, 2 deep broken plays to Devontae Adams, which is super fun to watch. But that is basically the game. If he doesn't have those plays here, it's going to be very difficult for Derek Carr to even, surface in your leagues. He has been under 20 fantasy points most of the season. You sell high on big games, especially on national TV. Everybody saw it. Everybody watched it. It was exciting. Look to move Derek Carr if you can. Josh Jacobs. I had him in my column last week, and he blew up this week. Totally get it. I'll eat crow for 1 week. I'm selling him again. This is not the real Josh Jacobs. In the first 3 weeks, Josh Jacobs was running back 29. He is now running back 2 over the last 2 weeks behind only Austin Eckler, right? He's done a good job scoring touchdowns, but I don't think his efficiency of a career-high 4.8 yards per carry is going to keep up. He's been running hard. He looks good, but I don't see this offense keeping going here. And again, without 2 big plays from Devontae Adams, the Chiefs probably, end up smashing in this game, and it's not even that close. So Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs are 2 Raiders I'm looking to move off of. This one's kind of weird, and you're probably thinking, like, who even has Josh Reynolds and who cares? The guy's wide receiver 10 over the last 3 games with Amon-Ra St. Brown out, right? Jared Goff had a bad game. They played the Patriots, but Josh Reynolds still got his work. If he's a deep guy that just has been popping off a little bit and somebody needs wide receiver help, throw him in a trade, just add him a little piece, and I would just get rid of Josh Reynolds, because once Amon-Ra St. Brown comes back and Jameson Williams gets healthy and DeAndre Swift comes back and Jared Goff gets back to it, Josh Reynolds isn't going to see the field, unfortunately. Try to get any piece you possibly can, maybe even a DST or a heavy kicker or something if you need to, off of the hype from Josh Reynolds. And finally, sadly, it's Pat Freiermuth. Again, it's hard to find tight ends that are buy low and sell highs. Pat Freiermuth has been really solid. I think he'd be okay the rest of the season, but he's not going to have the touchdowns in this offense. And I don't trust Kenny Pickett yet either long term, or in the short term, I should say. And unfortunately, he had a big concussion. He's had 3 concussions, I think, in his career already. So he might miss multiple games just out of like cautiousness. And if he gets another one, he might be done for the season. So I hate to predict injury or anything like that, but he does have a track record with concussions plus this offense. I like Pat Freiermuth a lot as an option in this, but we mentioned all the wide receivers and Najee earlier. Pat Freiermuth is my guy. So Jacob, it's a lot of information, but thoughts on selling Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, Josh Reynolds, and Pat Freiermuth?
I agree. I think that, or I guess I'll take it person by person. I agree with Derek Carr. I think that's an unlikely game that we see again from Derek Carr. Josh Jacobs, I'm still undecided on Josh Jacobs. I think that for where people were getting him in terms of value, he's been producing in that 7th round area. But I want to see, if he has one more, like if next week, or are they on a bye? They're on a bye next week. But if he comes off the bye and he has like a 13-point week, 14-point week, all right, he's gone. Like that's it. And then Josh Reynolds, I agree. And then Freiermuth, only because it's tough to find a tight end, but I agree with what you said about that. Can I throw 2 other names in there?
Yes, please.
Okay. Running back, very controversial because I'm an owner of him in one of my leagues, and that's Dalvin Cook. I've been saying this since week 2, I think, that wait until he plays Chicago and then sell him, because that's all you're gonna get. Now is the time we are gonna get the value for Dalvin Cook because he's getting the touches and he's not doing anything with them. And now it's becoming more and more of a committee with Alexander Madison. I'd rather get another high value running back for him at that point, get a top receiver, depending on what kind of depth you have there. I'll sell high on Dalvin Cook, and then I'll throw a name in there at tight end. And I'm done with Darren Waller. I'm so done with Darren Waller. He's off my team. I don't care. Just get what you can for him, man.
He can't stay healthy either, unfortunately. So it's been a bit tough there. We're going to sign off in just a second, but one of our super fans has chimed in here, desperate for a running back, deal Kyler and throw in Pacheco for Geno and Kamara. I will jump in here really quickly, and I will definitely go Geno and Kamara. Jacob?
That's like our whole show has been about that. That's like, yes.
Matt, how do you feel about this trade question?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I like it.
Perfect. Half PPR, 4-point QB, TD. I'm going to go Geno and Kamara. Derek, best of luck. And we'll see you in a couple of days, my man, and we appreciate you. Boys, anything else before we get out of here? Matt and Jacob, any final thoughts on trade targets or waiver pickups?
Nope. I guess just me and Matt are going to be the tensions will be high because our teams are playing each other this week. The Jets headed to Green Bay, so that'll be fun. So we'll have a lot to talk about.
And I don't want to put Matt too on tilt after the day that he's already had.
No, definitely not.
Somehow,
I didn't want to piss him off, but
somehow
I had to bring it up.
The Jets and Packers game is actually worth tuning into right now. We just saw them come up short against the Giants. The Jets are playing well. Breece Hall's on fire. We'll see. It'll be very interesting.
The spread is 7.5. Like it's a lot of points, but whatever.
So who's giving the 7.5?
The Packers are favored at home. I
put my money on the Jets for that. Plus 7.5. Yeah, give me plus 7.5 on the Jets.
Oh, all right, folks.
It's a new sentence.
Before we get out of here, I do want to remind everybody we do have bye weeks kicking off this week. The Lions, the Titans, the Raiders, and the Texans. Thank goodness there's about 4 quality fantasy players throughout that entire bunch. But Lions, Titans, Raiders, and Texans are on bye this week. Make sure to get them out of your roster. Do not drop Daniel Carlson, but fill in the rest of your slots there. All right, y'all, we went a little long in the tooth, but we were so happy to have Jacob Charnow on the program. Again, you can find his articles, Matt Stiles' articles, and mine as well on Razzball.com for free. The buy, sells, and the trade targets from me, You have the start sits. And then, of course, you have the waiver pickups as well from Jacob and Matt. Make sure to find all of us on Twitter at Jacob Charnow, at Stiles08, at Sky Guasco, and, of course, at Rasball. Leave a rate review on the podcast once you download that on the go, and make sure to leave a rate and review, of course, for the YouTube program here. Hit the bell, leave a comment, and we will catch you next time on the Rasball Fantasy Football Show. We'll see you Sunday morning, 3 hours before kickoff, right here on the Rasball Show. Subscribe. We will catch you next time. We appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And on behalf of all the Rasballers, enjoy your baseball, folks. We'll catch you next time.